Good evening and welcome. Tonight, INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu confirms the presidential and National Assembly elections will go ahead as scheduled on Saturday across the 36 states and the FCT. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana cautions against militarization of the elections as the IGP deploys over 400,000 personnel. House of Representatives member from Rivers State arrested with about $500,000. This is the anti-graft agency, the EFCC, intercepts 32 million in Lagos.
On business news tonight, Central Bank of Nigeria reviews tenure of executive and non-executive directors of deposit money banks in a bid to strengthen governance practices in Nigeria's banking sector.
And on sports news tonight, Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag confirms that Marcus Rashford is a doubt for the Carabao Cup final against Newcastle on Sunday as the striker limps off against Barcelona in the UEFA Cup playoff match.
From the nation's capital, residents of Abuja and Kaduna get ready for the polls amid heavy security beef up in Kaduna State. Many of the residents stock up food and other essential commodities from the nation's capital.
And in international news from London, President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine will do everything to achieve victory a year after Russia invaded the country.
We're counting down hours now to the start of the general elections here in Nigeria, starting with the presidential and National Assembly polls. And INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, says all is being set for the big day. The INEC chairman, who was speaking during a briefing with the Inspector General of Police in Abuja, also announced that elections will not hold for senatorial candidates in Enugu East, owing to the death of a senatorial candidate just yesterday. The IGP on his part says over 400 security personnel will be deployed for the elections.
All the heads of civil society.
This is the second time within 1 week that the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission will brief journalists on the preparations for the elections. This time, he's joined by the Inspector General of Police.
We have made arrangements.
The Inspector General of Police, Usman Al-Khali Baba Ahmed, highlights the security plan for the elections.
We expect to deploy 425,106 personnel from these services to police the election on the election day.
The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, started his remarks with the confirmation of a development in the Eastern Senatorial District of Enugu State that might affect the conduct of the elections in that part of the state.
I can confirm that we have now received a formal communication from the political party informing the Commission of the death of its candidate for Enugu East Senatorial District. The party also conveyed its intention to participate in the election for that constituency by replacing its deceased candidate. Consequently, the Commission has suspended the election in the senatorial district as provided by law.
The INEC chairman also commented on the issue regarding a political party that was protesting the exclusion of its logo from the ballot.
The Commission has a record of obedience to court orders. The party you are talking about, in 1 day alone, served on INEC 70 processes on the nomination of candidates. And in Lagos, on federal constituencies alone, we accepted the nomination of candidates for 13 out of 24 federal constituencies from that party by court order. So we look at the court orders and respond accordingly.
Over 93 million registered voters in Nigeria. However, not all the registered voters will be able to participate in these elections, as over 6 million voters' cards are yet to be collected.
Security tops the list of concerns raised by accredited election observers and civil society groups as the country heads to the polls tomorrow. Speaking at separate pre-election assessment briefings in Abuja, some of the groups have listed states including Lagos, Rivers and Kano as flashpoints that will be needing special attention from security agencies.
It is the eve of the presidential and National Assembly elections in Nigeria, and several accredited election observer groups are briefing journalists about their pre-election assessment observations.
Comments?
Addressing journalists at separate news conferences in Abuja, the groups list some of their concerns barely 24 hours before the commencement of the elections on Saturday, and security tops the list.
When you look at the campaigns, during the campaigns and even during election, you will see that the number of unregistered vehicles using tinted glass has increased, and that's a big concern even for the security agents, for citizens across the 6 geopolitical zones.
We wish to allow the security agencies to watch out for proponents of violence. Such states, the first state in our list is Lagos State, described as high-risk states. The second state is Rivers and Delta states. Another state to watch out for under the high-risk states is Kano, Kogi State, and Kaduna State.
However, other groups, including the community of people with disabilities, are calling on the electoral umpire and security agencies to ensure that the exercise is credible and inclusive.
I expect it to be free, fair, credible, and inclusive. I expect it to be peaceful, and may I use this opportunity to please warn our community, don't fall prey to the politicians. Don't let them use you.
Situation Room urges INEC to remain neutral during the elections, and then it is important that the Commission monitors the activities of its officials.
The security atmosphere has become a note of worry. And if you've been following the news, you must have seen or heard cases of pre-election violence, sadly. But we are assured of the capacity of security agencies to safeguard Nigerians as they cast their ballot tomorrow. And this is why we've also partnered with security agencies to ensure that issues around violence that would be reported by our observers would be escalated and actions would be taken appropriately.
The church is not left out. The Catholic Secretariat in Nigeria says it's deploying 6,000 observers to monitor the elections.
The church has put measures and structures in place to ensure free, fair and credible elections. The deployment of expertly trained election observers are significant steps in that direction.
Nigerians will go to the polls on Saturday to elect a new president and federal lawmakers who will pilot the affairs of the country for the next 4 years.
Here in Lagos, it appears security agencies are leaving nothing to chance, going by the deployment of police across the state. The Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 2, Abiodun Alabi, speaking after a meeting with other security agencies, says personnel and resources have been deployed for the protection of the people and the process in Lagos. Our correspondent, Olumide Macaulay, reports.
The silhouette of the police officer's camouflage catches the eye as the Nigeria police force getting gear for the elections. The arrival of the Assistant Inspector General of Police Zone 2 Command Headquarters at Onikon, Lagos, a precursor to the meeting of sister security agencies to the police, here present to help the process of securing the elections along.
But the press isn't privy to the discussions as they play their cards close to their chest.
After the meeting, he adds that the police are ready for any flashpoints that may occur in the elections, plus a message for the people.
Yes, of course, we have some flashpoints. You know, empirically, we have some flashpoints going by what happened in previous election. And we are equally anticipating, that other areas where we have some problems are adequately taken care of. We are not mindful of that fact that there are some areas that are regarded as flashpoints, and we are prepared. Don't forget there's going to be a restriction of movement tomorrow, and that is going to be enforced. That will, in a way, will deter some people to assemble unlawfully or to plan anything towards the election. And besides that, too, those areas that have been identified as flashpoints, we have deployed adequately to take care of anything that's happened there. Anybody that wants to prevent any trouble, we take care of. They should continue to have confidence in the Nigerian police force and other security agencies. We are ever ready to serve them and to protect them. We are ever ready to protect them and put in place adequate security to guarantee their safety at all times.
To the Nigeria Police Command Ikeja, where another deployment of police officers is underway to the local government areas, and from there to the wards and polling units to secure the INEC officials, the sensitive materials, and the electorate for the elections. The officers are raring to go.
Going by the reassurances from the Nigeria Police Command senior officers, as well as what we've witnessed firsthand, it appears I's have been dotted, T's been crossed, square pegs put in square holes in anticipation of the general elections to hold tomorrow. The officers and men of the Nigeria Police Force seem to be in high spirits as they undertake their duties for the protection of lives and property, as well as the sensitive INEC materials for the elections. Reporting from the Lagos Police Command, Olumide Macaulay, Channels Television News.
However, human rights lawyer Femi Falana is calling on President Muhammadu Buhari to ensure that the armed forces is not involved in the conduct of the 2023 general elections. According to him, the Nigerian military should be left in the barracks rather than being used to terrorize voters. Mr. Falana cited cases from 2005 where the Nigerian army was stopped by the court from being used to influence or sway the direction of the elections. The senior lawyer rather says rather than bringing in the military, the police and anti-graft agencies should be deployed to maintain law and order during the exercise. In Rivers State, the police command has arrested a member of the House of Representatives, Chinyere Igwe, with a sum of $498,100. The lawmaker was picked up by men of the command during a stop and search on Thursday. At the point of arrest, Mr. Igwe, who was also found to be in possession of a list for distribution of the money, the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of elections in Rivers State, Abutu Yaro, warns private security operatives will not be allowed at voting points on election day. The IG, who was addressing journalists at the command's headquarters in Port Harcourt, says the status of the lawmaker was not considered during his arrest.
At 02:45 a.m. this morning, that is 2:45 in the dead night, near INEC office in Aba Road, Port Harcourt, a gentleman drove and wanted to pass through police checkpoint or police pin down point. A routine search was conducted on him, and huge sums of foreign currency, particularly United States dollars, was found on him with distribution lists and evidently pointing out to vote buying, unlawful possession of foreign currency, and money laundering. Security officials or personal security of any person of whatever description will not be allowed at the voting centers. And we have strategic special police teams that traverses the whole state. Whoever carries along himself or herself security aids will be prevented from moving further. And our telephone hotlines have been made available to the public. As I speak, 3 commissioners of police have been deployed to River North Senatorial District, River Southeast Senatorial District, and River South Senatorial District. These police commissioners remain the linchpin of our security architecture.
In Lagos, southwest Nigeria, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says it's intercepted the sum of 32,400,000 naira, allegedly meant for vote buying and other financial malfeasance ahead of Saturday's election. A statement by the spokesperson of the commission, Wilson Owujaren, says the recovery was made by operatives of the Lagos Zonal Command of the commission. He says the suspect involved has been taken into custody for further questioning, and the tactical teams of operatives are currently on the ground in all states of the Federation and in the FCT. In part two, after the break, residents of Abuja and Kaduna get ready for the polls amid heavy security beef up in Kaduna State. Many of the residents stock up on food and other essential commodities. We'll have details soon. Join us again. Welcome back. If it is John just watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television, here's a reminder of our top stories. INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu confirms that presidential and National Assembly elections will go ahead as scheduled on Saturday across the 36 states and the FCT. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana cautions against militarization of the elections as the IGP deploys over 400,000 personnel. The House of Representatives member from Rivers State arrested with about $500,000 just as the anti-graft agency, the EFCC, intercepts 32 million naira in Lagos. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says victory is inevitable 1 year after Russia's invasion of his country. The West African Elders Forum has commended the level of preparedness by the Independent National Electoral Commission for the presidential and National Assembly elections. The mission is headed by a former president of Ghana, Mr. John Mahama, who gave the commendation at a news conference in Abuja. Mr. Mahama also commended the signing of the peace accord by all the presidential candidates, while encouraging the candidates to abide by the accord in the interest of peace.
We're pleased with the level of preparedness by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, the security services, policing the elections, and other stakeholders involved in these elections. And we are hopeful of a free and fair exercise. We're also impressed by the commitment of the candidates to support violent-free elections, which they have demonstrated by signing 2 peace accords. This is a tradition that has continued to serve Nigeria well during elections since it was introduced in 2015. The peace accord mechanism is a positive development which other African countries can adopt and apply to improve their elections and guarantee peace before, during, and after elections. We encourage the candidates who signed this accord to keep to its terms in the interest of peace and progress in Nigeria.
We're off to our studios in Abuja, where Malkwe Ogun Yusuf is standing by with more, especially concerning tomorrow's elections. Hi, Malkwe.
Hello, Amarachi. Indeed, it's the eve of D-Day, and it appears that voter apathy may be reduced in the 2023 elections, as residents of local communities in Abuja and Kaduna are indicating preparedness to come out en masse and vote in tomorrow's elections. Meanwhile, some of the residents have had to carry out last-minute shopping ahead of the election day, while others lament the absence of cash to make purchases.
The Federal Capital Territory is home to various local communities. One of them is Kpaduma, just minutes away from the highbrow Asokoro area of Abuja. The residents appear to be in high spirit, aware of who they will vote for, and are indeed determined to come out to vote.
I can't even wait for tomorrow. I brought out my PVC yesterday and I cleaned it up because I'm ready to vote. My polling unit is at ECOWAS, but I don't mind trekking. I've been trekking it, so I'm ready to go there and vote. And I just hope that we will have free and fair election.
We have been clamoring for change for a long time, and then I think by tomorrow, I have my PVC ready. Early in the morning, I'll be at the polling unit to cast my vote.
While the restriction of movement across the country may just last half the day, The residents are stocking up food.
I learned that there should be a network seized by the banks or the network providers. But I went out to use my ATM card and buy foodstuff.
The situation is the same in Kaduna State. The state capital is booming with last-minute shopping by residents.
I just prepare against tomorrow or next weekend, Sunday, because no market tomorrow, no market Sunday, so I have to buy things. When we are sitting at home, at least we'll be home tomorrow and Sunday, probably on Monday, waiting for the results. So we need to eat now.
Meanwhile, security has been beefed up across the 23 local government areas of Kaduna State ahead of the election. And the Commissioner of Police in charge of the Kaduna Command's election duty, Sunday Babaji, says there is no cause for alarm.
My message to the hooligans or criminals who wants to thwart this election that Kaduna State is not safe for them, they should stay clear and allow good people of Kaduna to cast their votes, to exercise their franchise.
With just hours to the crucial presidential and National Assembly elections, Nigerians appear hopeful that their votes will count and that the right leaders will emerge through a credible and transparent process.
Well, outside the nation's shores, Nigerians in South Africa are very much a part of the 2023 election watch and are hoping for the outcome that will serve the country and the people better. Now, while many have their preferred candidates, the common thread is the prayer for a better Nigeria to which they hope they return more often or for good in order to contribute to its development. Our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia, reports.
There is no official figure of the number of Nigerians who live in South Africa, but an unofficial estimate puts it at over 800,000, some doing quite well and others just getting by. And like everyone else back home, they want the same several things that make a country great as Nigeria heads to the polls.
We need help. We need good government. Everything, electricity, good roads, everything. We just need someone that will help us to get through those things.
I am praying for my country. As you know, we're so proud of our country, the giant of Africa, you know. And we are, like me, I take it upon myself. And I also believe every youth, Nigerian youth, know this is the time we're taking our country back.
By God's grace, the person that is going to win, the person that is going to be the next president of Nigeria is going to make us proud. We Nigerians are going to make us proud. So I pray so.
Everyone is keenly watching all the developments leading up to the vote, sometimes with worry, but still with hope. Dr. Emeka Ogu is the president of the Nigerian Doctors Forum in South Africa. Just like everyone, he hopes all role players in the election process will put their best foot forward.
To the electoral umpire, the INEC, they should ensure that no person is disenfranchised, that every Nigerian who has registered to vote, irrespective of the person's locality or where the person may be, that the person is allowed to cast his or her vote.
No doubt the success of this election will not bode well only for Nigeria, but Africa and the world at large. Hence the weight of international observers already in the country, as well as those watching from outside. Advocate Sipho Mantula is a researcher with the Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Affairs.
President Thabo Mbeki spoke about the elections of this country. They are beyond Nigeria. It is not all about Nigeria. What is at stake is the African democracy project. What is at stake also, it is the level of democracy, majority in terms of credible elections, legitimacy, and also the actors, if they can be tolerant.
While the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has ticked many of the required boxes, technological and manual, in terms of preparations, Professor Larry Obi of the Sefako Makate Health Sciences University in Pretoria has appealed for adequate preparations for eventualities as well.
We know that in Nigeria, electricity supply is erratic. So I will expect backups in the form of backup generators and so on, because technology does not exist in a vacuum. And technology is more or less powered by electricity. So energy sources must be made available so that if there are power outages, the people will not be frustrated.
Professor Obi's final word is for the voters.
They should see themselves as one, primarily as Nigerians, wanting to usher a government that will care for the people, a government of the people, for the people.
As the countdown meets D-Day, the hope for many here in South Africa is for the outcome to reflect the true voices of real voters. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
Well, over in the United Arab Emirates, it is the desire of some Nigerians resident there to see a new and functional country emerge after the 2023 general elections. For them, a lot more is at stake as their continued stay in the Middle Eastern country depends on how well the next leadership engages the UAE government on diplomatic issues. Our Dubai correspondent, Mayowa Adegoke, captures the thoughts of some Nigerians resident in the UAE in this report.
In order to escape some of the harsh realities of living in Nigeria, many Nigerians quickly relocate to other parts of the world, now popularly called Japa. And as we've seen in the case of Nigerians in the UAE, living in Nigeria doesn't always mean that you escape being a Nigerian. I'm being joined by citizen Oluwatosin, who's popular as My Cup of Tea, a blogger who's been following very closely the situation of Nigerian youths and, in fact, Nigerian residents in the UAE. He tells me more about why this election is very important for Nigerians in the UAE.
Nigerians in the UAE seems lost interest, lost hope in this present administration. We are looking forward to the next administration that they can help us solve the problem we have been facing here for almost 2 years now. The issue of work permit ban and visa ban. Nigerians back at home should help us vote in the right person that can solve all this problem we have, especially somebody that has the willpower to solve the problems. Nigerians working, living in UAE, there's a general understanding that we have been disenfranchised because Nigerians in diaspora cannot vote. But this is not true. Even if we cannot vote, we can influence our people back home to vote on our behalf.
I'm out and about in Dubai, looking to speak to more Nigerians about this election. Dera is a vibrant business hub, and you have several Nigerian restaurants in this area. That means that many Nigerians come here to eat from time to time. Beatrice Olusoji has lived in the UAE for 9 years. Her Aniki restaurant has been running for 7 years, and she says the outcome of this election is of concern to her.
It will affect me because I'm a Nigerian, and I love my country. I really love my country because Yoruba sọ pé àjò kò lè dàbí ilé. As I can do here, I cannot do. As I can do in Nigeria, I cannot do it here. I just pray that God should choose good government for good presidents. That's my prayer.
Yet another call on God. Nana Afolabi minding her business in Biggie Restaurant's kitchen, putting her trust in God to take over the elections. Across town in the upscale Palm Jumeirah, Nigerian investors gathering at another restaurant also share their thoughts.
We just cannot get it wrong this time around because any wrong decision we make right now is going to affect every Nigerian, both those in Nigeria and those in the diaspora. And we just have to get it right.
Vote for the right person because we've suffered so much. We really need to change our directions. We really need to improve our lives. We really need to improve the lives of our generations to come. That's my candid advice.
My message for Nigeria is we should vote wisely and let everything be calm. We don't want to share blood to do this election.
Although separated from home by thousands of kilometers, it seems Nigerians in the United Arab Emirates will be monitoring the elections closely, as they too have a lot at stake. From Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Maya Wadigoke for Channels Television.
Still ahead on the news at 10, the Central Bank of Nigeria reviews tenure of executive and non-executive directors of deposit money banks in a bid to strengthen governance practices in the banking sector. Well, that's some business news. Do join us again.
Welcome back. As the nation goes out to the polls tomorrow to elect a president who will take over on May 29th, agencies in charge of elections have assured that all necessary preparations have been taken care of. Beyond the preparations, what criteria must candidates meet to be declared winner in the elections? Our correspondent Linda Kigbe explains.
In a matter of hours, Nigerians would head to the polls to elect the next president of the country. It's been months of preparations by electoral umpire INEC, the executive, civil society organizations and Nigerians for this momentous exercise to usher in a new administration. After the votes are cast, whoever will emerge as president must meet two constitutional requirements. The candidate must have the majority votes cast at election and not less than 1/4 of the votes cast at election in each of at least 2/3 of all the states in the Federation and the FCT.
Once a candidate scores less than 25% in 13 or more states, that candidate will not win the election.
But what if no clear winner emerges after the votes are collated?
You would go for a runoff. And this runoff, the winner of the election will be a candidate, and the second person will be the person that has the highest number of majority votes.
But a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Olisa Abakoba, wants INEC to clarify its position on Section 134 of the 1999 Constitution on the requirements to be met by a presidential candidate to be declared winner of the election. He stated in the letter that the possible interpretation of the section raises questions of the status of the Federal Capital Territory as one of the constitutionally required 24 states. However, another senior advocate of Nigeria gives his own interpretation.
All a candidate needs to achieve to emerge as the president of the country as contemplated by Section 137 is to score 25 to third majority in 25 states. He doesn't need to win FCT per se. So if he gets 25 out of the 37, inclusive of FCT, it means that he has fulfilled the constitutional requirement as contemplated by Section 137.
Beyond the constitutional requirements which must be met by a candidate to win the presidential election, history has shown some patterns on how presidents emerge. For instance, in the elections conducted from 1979 till date, no one has become president without winning at least 3 out of the 6 zones of Nigeria, as well as winning at least 1 zone in the southern part of the country and the north central. However, an analyst is worried about the dwindling acceptability of winners of presidential elections in Nigeria.
There's more competition. So competition is eating into the market share of the other candidates. But the science and research shows that beyond competition, it is that presidents are having less national appeal.
There are concerns that the hardship caused by the Naira swap policy may affect voter turnout during the elections. But despite this problem, analysts want INEC and the federal government with its institutions to create an environment to inspire Nigerians to come out and exercise their franchise. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Court of Appeal Abuja Division has dismissed an appeal by the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari, where he sought the reversal of an early ruling of a federal high court in Abuja, refusing his request for bail. In a unanimous judgment, the 3-member panel led by Justice Stephen Adda held that Mr. Kyari's appeal lacked merit. Justice Adda held that in view of the nature of the charges pending against him and the other defendants before the Federal High Court Abuja, such requests request for bail needed to be handled with caution. He held that Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court, Abuja, who earlier rejected bail to Kyari, appropriately exercised his discretion in refusing to grant Kyari bail. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, is prosecuting Kyari and 4 members of the IRT with the conspiracy to deal in 17.55 kilograms of cocaine, among others. Kyari is also charged alone with attempting to obstruct officials of the NDLEA in the conduct of their activities by offering them bribe. U Lesson Education, a leading provider of educational resources and experiences for students in Nigeria, is set to launch its academic challenge known as the U Lesson National Academic Tournament, where winners will go home with a cash prize of 5 million naira. The tournament's edition, tagged Rise to the Challenge, will feature a wide range of topics and subjects, including mathematics, English, chemistry, physics, and biology. Science students from secondary schools all over Nigeria will be eligible to participate and compete for the grand prize of 3 million naira. Runners-up will get 1 million naira alongside other consolation prizes, while third-place finishers will receive 500,000 naira. According to U Lesson Senior Vice President for Academic and Curriculum Development, Ihai Chukwu Akwiti, this competition is just one of many ways they're working to empower students to achieve their full potential and provide them opportunities for growth and success. The tournament will be in 3 stages. In the preliminary stage, which involves a virtual exam on the U Lesson app, stage 1, where shortlisted candidates will sit for computer-based test at locations in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. And the final stage, where the finalists will compete for the star prize at a live quiz show in Abuja. Students with the highest scores and the schools they represent will receive awards and recognition. MTN Foundation, in collaboration with the Bank of Industry, is set to empower 150 female entrepreneurs with an equipment loan of up to 2 million naira. The program is focused on advancing women's development in the area of entrepreneurship through capacity building, advisory, and business support services. The pitch, which was a 3rd stage of the initiative, had the participants present businesses across agriculture, manufacturing, fashion, and waste management, amongst other key sectors of the economy. The handover ceremony of the equipment loans will take place in the 2nd quarter of the year.
These women are among the 200 female entrepreneurs shortlisted to pitch their businesses in order to benefit from MTN Yellowpreneur initiative. Through this program, MTN Foundation, in partnership with the Bank of Industry and the Enterprise Development Center, is demonstrating its commitment to supporting women's development.
We recognize that it's important for women to have access to capacity building and funding. And so MTN through the foundation has come up with a Yellowpreneur initiative, where it's the first that we're doing. We've trained 500 women, female entrepreneurs, in specific sectors, because we recognize our role as a contributor to economic development.
This is a very huge opportunity. In my years of banking experience, women are the most reliable partners you can have. They are the most dependable customers. These are people who would not disappoint you when they take your loans. They are really very curious people, and I appreciate them.
Almost 500 females were initially trained by Enterprise Development Center for 5 weeks to build their entrepreneurial skills, but these 200 qualified for an opportunity to get an equipment loan of up to 2 million naira each.
For me, I'm looking for a passion. How are they looking to push this business forward, right? Because getting the funding is one thing. We can get the funding and now push the business forward. So if you see someone comes up here, what are their passion like? How are they going to manage the money when you have it, right? So that way in 1 or 2 years they're still in business, or they're still creating more jobs as they expand their business.
The participants present their business ideas to a panel of judges, hoping they will get the loan to enable them grow and sustain their businesses.
I learned quite a few number of things because they had some inputs to make in my business as well. So for this stage of my business, the grant is just what I need. So we're hoping to grow bigger, grow better, and this is a good platform for it.
MTN Yellowpreneur is an initiative of the MTN Foundation designed to provide capacity building and funding opportunities to qualified Nigerian female entrepreneurs in collaboration with the Bank of Industry.
Here's where we detour now to more business news. Here's Anne Wawodo.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Amarachi. Hello and welcome to Business News. Managing directors as well as executive and non-executive bank directors holding these positions between 10 and 12 years must resign after the period. And that's according to latest review set by the Central Bank of Nigeria. In a statement released today, the financial markets regulator says the move intends to strengthen the structure of the governance practices in the country's banking industry. This development is coming 13 years after the CBN limited the tenure of bank CEOs to 10 years. Meanwhile, the CBN adds that an executive who becomes a deputy managing director of a bank or any DMB will enjoy a cumulative tenure as ED and DMD for 10 years, while the cumulative tenure limit of EDs and DMDs, MDs and NEDs across the banking industry is put at 20 years. Meanwhile, the CBN has launched the unstructured supplementary service data channel of the eNaira on the BallNet platform to boost its usage. The USSD channel was launched in Lagos at an event to discuss the cash crunch and how the services introduced by the BallNet will solve the problem. According to the CBN and BallNet, the USSD with the code *997*50# would ease the pain caused by the current scarcity of cash as the country transitions from cash-based economy to a cashless one. And outside our shores, Swedish telecom company Ericsson says that it will lay off 8,500 workers, and that's at least 8% of its 105,529 staff worldwide. This is part of cost-cutting measures. In a report released today, the company announced that it is seeking cost reductions at a run rate of about $860 million by the end of this year. According to its spokesman, most of the layoffs will take effect in the first half of this year, but it could also extend into 2024. Ericsson says it expects to start seeing the effect of its cost saving in the second quarter of this year. And in company news, listed energy firm Owando PLC has announced a delay of the publishing of its year-ended 31st of December 2020 and Q1 to Q4 2021 results. In a statement sent to the stock exchange, the company explains that its audited financial statements have been reviewed and approved by its board of directors. It will also be filed with the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria for final review and approval for publishing. It also adds that it plans to publish the accounts by March the 24th this year, subject to final regulatory approval of the audited financial statements, and will update the market in due course. And talking about the markets, it ended the day before the general election still in positive territory, with more than 164 billion naira added to the last two gains recorded this week. Inijon Mekwa has the details.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the stock market report. Well, the week closes with a bang as 164 billion naira is gained at the close of trade today, Friday, at the NGX. And we see that in the all-share index, or more than 0.5% in the green. And look right here, 54,949. That means you're really close to 55,000. The same very close move here to the next level. Imagine the market hitting 30 trillion naira. Well, we'll see if the election will push us over to the other side. Now, let's look at the top trades. The banking counter still leading market sentiment today. GTCO, Transco managed to get in between GTCO and AccessCo, but I tell you that the most liquid counter is still the one determining the sentiment in the market. But when we look at the activity chart, it's still a whole lot of red from the volume, the value, and the deals. But it doesn't really matter because the bull is still in charge in the market. All right, so let's leave the ball there and see if it can join Nigerians at the polls as we head to vote tomorrow. And then after that, we'll see what the markets, our investors, will be doing again. That's the stock market report. I'm Mini John Mekwa. Is back to you.
Thank you, Rini. Now let's find out closing figures from other major markets around the world for Friday. Business News, thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Amarachi.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Anne. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says victory will inevitably await us if allies respect their promise and deadlines. He made the remark during a live coverage of his news conference in Kyiv today. He commended allies for supporting Ukraine and says he does not care what happens to Russia after the war. Simon Pusey has more on the first anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. President Zelensky says Ukraine will do everything to achieve victory a year after Russia's invasion.
І так шануємо покоління, те, яке зараз бореться за Україну. Я прошу вас.
Ceremonies are taking place across Ukraine to mark the occasion, including here in Bucha, where Russian forces have been accused of committing crimes against humanity. Allies around the world lit up landmark monuments in a collective show of support. Paris lit up the Eiffel Tower in blue and yellow, while lights on the iconic Sydney Opera House sails went dark before also turning blue and yellow. The UK's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak led a national minute's silence, while in a letter King Charles condemned Russia's full-scale attack and praised the remarkable courage of the Ukrainian people. There were protests at Russian embassies around the world too. Here, a destroyed Russian tank dumped outside the embassy in Berlin. Protesters using sirens outside residential buildings for Russian embassy staff here in Warsaw. And yesterday in London, protesters poured paint in Ukrainian colours on the road outside Moscow's embassy.
The General Assembly is now voting on draft resolution A/ES11/L7.
The UN passed a resolution late on Thursday evening condemning Russia for starting the conflict, which has become the worst in Europe since World War II. Dramatic body cam footage has been released from an Orange County police officer captured during the arrest of the suspected gunman in a mass shooting in Florida. Officers jumped out to arrest 19-year-old Keith Melvin Moses.
Get on your face.
It's after he is alleged to have opened fire on 2 television journalists reporting on a murder near Orlando on Wednesday, killing one and wounding the other before fatally shooting a 9-year-old girl and wounding her mother in a nearby home. Rescuers have started retrieving the bodies of the 4 victims aboard a light plane that crashed into a volcano in the Philippines. Footage shows wreckage and debris from the crash, as well as rescuers scaling the active volcano. The Cessna 340 aircraft was bound for Manila when it lost contact with air traffic control shortly after leaving the airport. Residents in the coastal regions of Brazil's Sao Paulo state are still reeling from a heavy rainstorm, which has left at least 50 people dead and forced upwards of 3,500 people out of their homes. Over the past week, flooding and landslides triggered by torrential rain has unleashed chaos on the coastal areas of Sao Paulo, leaving many roadways filled with debris. Among the worst affected is Sassi village. The heavy downpour affected nearly 800 households in the village, leaving the houses either flattened or damaged, and leaving more than 1,000 people homeless. A monster US winter storm has killed a firefighter, knocked out power to more than 900,000 people and cancelled or delayed thousands of flights.
Okay. That's not the way that you want to go down that hill.
No.
Oh, well, keep going.
Here, a car sliding down a hill in Oregon. The National Weather Service says a broad swathe of the US, from Washington state to New England, is under advisories, with another 18 inches of snow and wind chills equal to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Thousands of flights are either delayed or cancelled, and roads have been left impassable or treacherous to drivers. But snow brings smiles too. Here, a man in Buffalo sliding down an icy street. And 2 jaguar cubs have been born in the Argentinian National Park, sparking hope to recover the species in the area. Footage shows the jaguar mum, Tanya, feeding her 2 cubs and resting with them in their den. For the Rewinding Foundation, which specializes in the preservation of endangered species, the birth and survival of these 2 new cubs bolsters the bid to revert back the extinction trend in the area. It is estimated there are only 250 of these animals still living in the wild in Argentina. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The Confederation of African Football has appointed Yannick Kabanga from the Democratic Republic of Congo as referee for Saturday's Africa Cup of Nations Group A clash between Nigeria and Mozambique in Ismailia, Egypt. Kabanga will be assisted by Stephen Moyo from the Republic of Congo, Pascal Ndimuzigo from Burundi, while Moroccan Jalal Jayed will serve as 4th official. And Manchester United coach Erik ten Hag has revealed that Marcus Rashford is a doubt for the League Cup final against Newcastle on Sunday. He says more tests will be needed to examine the severity of the injury that forced the striker off against Barcelona in the Europa League playoff second leg with win on Thursday night. Rashford has scored 24 goals in all competitions this season. That's a wrap on Sports News. I'm Victor Matthias. It's back to Amarachi with the wrap of the news at 10.
Thank you, Victor. And the main news again. INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu today announced that all is now set for tomorrow's presidential and National Assembly elections across the 36 states and the FCT. That is the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Umani. Good night and stay safe.